Some moments are so disturbing they stay with you long after the footage ends. Real events, strange recordings, and chilling incidents caught on camera. Let's begin. Parents reviewing overnight footage from a nursery camera noticed a woman standing motionless outside the window, staring inward. The figure didn't move or react before disappearing from view. Police found no signs of a break-in, and no neighbors reported seeing anyone outside at that hour. The footage unsettled viewers because the figure appeared fully formed, not a reflection or shadow. At 2:45 a.m. on November 7, 2014, Joseph Parker called 911 and calmly told the operator he shot his wife in the head 2 days earlier and placed her body in a freezer.
I shot my wife in the temple of her head. I thought I killed her. And I put her in the freezer.
He said he believed she had died instantly. But when he checked on her again, he claimed she was blinking and still alive. He described asking her questions and instructing her to blink once for yes and twice for no. He said he gave her water and blankets. Responding officers found her in the freezer exactly where he said she would be. Medical examination determined she had died almost immediately from the gunshot wound. She had been dead the entire time. Parker had also mutilated her body in an attempt to force it into the freezer. The blinking he described was impossible. Later that day, Parker was found dead from a gunshot wound. In the summer of 2018, 16-year-old Jordan Holgerson stood on a 60-foot bridge at Moulton Falls in Washington State while friends encouraged her to jump.
3, no, I won't go in. 2.
Well, she's saying no.
No, I just...
Ready? Oh, that's so...
During a countdown, she can be heard saying she doesn't want to go. Without warning, her friend Taylor Smith shoved her from behind. Jordan fell face first, completely unbalanced, striking the water at high speed. She suffered 6 broken ribs, punctured both lungs, and severe internal bruising. Taylor later pleaded guilty to reckless endangerment and was sentenced to 2 days in jail and 38 days of community service. In 1985, a truck driver in Japan approached a vending machine and saw an unopened energy drink already sitting in the retrieval tray. Promotional campaigns at the time encouraged customers to leave extra drinks for others, so this did not seem suspicious. He drank it. The bottle had been injected with paraquat, a highly toxic herbicide that destroys internal organs and causes chemical burns. There is no effective antidote. He died weeks later. Over the following months, identical incidents occurred across multiple regions. In total, 12 people died, and at least 35 were poisoned. The attacker specifically targeted machines without surveillance cameras and left no traceable evidence. The person responsible was never identified. A home video once surfaced showing a burning house at night, while the person filming calmly narrated the fire as if it were deliberate.
This is my domain, my hell.
The footage ended with a chilling threat aimed directly at whoever might be watching. What made the tape even more disturbing was how it was discovered, abandoned inside a jacket along a highway. When the video aired on television years later, viewers recognized the fire, leading investigators to confirm the footage had been filmed by the arsonist himself, standing just feet away as firefighters arrived. After years of detective work, 2 minor boys were found to be the culprits. Omar McKinley was sent to juvenile detention and John to a mental institution. On June 30, 2014, Lars Mittank arrived at Varna Airport in Bulgaria after a week-long vacation. Days earlier, he had suffered a ruptured eardrum during a fight and began expressing fear that people were trying to harm him. Security footage shows him inside the airport visiting a doctor. Moments later, he abruptly ran from the office, sprinted through the terminal, exited the building, climbed over a fence, and ran across an open field toward a forest. He left behind his passport, wallet, and luggage. No confirmed sightings have occurred since. Investigators later confirmed he had not taken the medication he feared was affecting him. More than a decade later, his disappearance remains unexplained. A short interview clip shows Charles Manson being asked a simple question: who he really is. Instead of answering immediately, his initial reaction is strange. He doesn't respond verbally at first. He stares, shifts his eyes, and makes exaggerated facial expressions. When he finally answers, his tone is calm and controlled. There is no anger, no panic, and no visible remorse.
Nobody. I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight razor if you get too close to me.
This shows how creepy this man really was. Late in the evening of October 18, 2017, several teenagers stood on a highway overpass near Flint, Michigan, throwing landscaping stones at passing vehicles. One 6-pound rock crashed through the windshield of a van traveling below. It struck 32-year-old Kenneth White in the face and chest. He died shortly afterward. The rock had been thrown intentionally to see what would happen. 17-year-old Kyle Anger admitted responsibility. White left behind 4 children. Anger served 3 years in juvenile detention before being released in 2021. During a routine game show, a host abruptly stopped the program to deliver breaking news.
Nos acaba de llegar una información muy difícil de entregar. No habíamos querido decir nada antes de chequear bien lo que estaba sucediendo porque compromete a personajes del canal.
A plane carrying his own colleagues had crashed into the ocean. The announcement wasn't scripted. It happened in real time, with presenters learning live on air that their friends were almost certainly dead. Later, cameras recovered from the wreckage revealed footage recorded minutes before the crash, showing the victims smiling, unaware of what was about to happen.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. I'm gonna her up, bro. I'm gonna her up. Listen to me, Bjork. You're gonna get up, and I hope your son gets up. And I really don't give a about Goldie, because you can't blame a dog for being a dog. You know, you can blame somebody for loving a dog, but you can't blame a dog for being a dog. I don't give a if he gets splashed too, hey, great. He doesn't, I don't give a her son. Technically, I would rather her son get all up with the acid than her, because if her son were to get all up with the acid, she would feel even more guilt, and it would be even sweeter. Hey, casualties of war. I don't believe a child deserves to live any more than an adult. To me, it's the same shit. So, come on. Okay.
In September 1996, a man named Ricardo Lopez mailed a package to the London home of singer Björk. Inside was a homemade device designed to release a corrosive chemical when opened. The substance could have caused severe, permanent injuries. Lopez had documented his growing obsession in more than 20 hours of video recordings. In those tapes, he explained his anger and carefully showed how he constructed the device. After sending the package, he recorded one final message and was later found deceased in his apartment. When authorities reviewed the tapes, they realized a dangerous package was already on its way to London. Police were immediately alerted, and the device was intercepted at a postal facility just hours before it would have reached its destination. The recordings he created in an attempt to document his actions ultimately became the evidence that stopped the attack before anyone was harmed. On August 26, 2014, the television show Cops was filming with the Omaha Police Department when officers responded to a robbery at a Wendy's restaurant in Omaha, Nebraska. Inside was 32-year-old Cortez Washington, who appeared to be armed. When officers entered, gunfire erupted. During the exchange, sound technician Bryce Dion, 38, was struck by police gunfire while holding his boom microphone. He later died from his injuries. Washington also died at the scene. Investigators later confirmed the suspect's weapon was an airsoft pistol designed to resemble a real handgun. In 1987, hikers near Tabernash, Colorado, discovered the wreckage of a small plane that had been missing for nearly 3 years. Hanging from a nearby tree was a damaged VHS tape. Once restored, it revealed the final moments of pilot James Jeb Connell and passenger Ronald Hugh Willman during their 1984 flight.
Oh, look at that down there, Ronnie, on the left. Nice little lake and a cabin.
Aviation experts later determined that high altitude and thin air caused the plane to lose lift. The crash disabled its emergency locator, explaining why no rescue ever came. In 2001, a group of teenagers filmed themselves exploring the abandoned Barton Mansion in Redlands, California. While walking upstairs, their camera captured what appeared to be a tall, dark figure standing at the end of a hallway, holding an object resembling a lantern.
Cover my bag, all right. What the hell's that? Down on the floor. Right there.
The figure appeared unusually tall, bending slightly beneath a doorway. The teens fled the building. The footage circulated online before YouTube existed, and the creators have never publicly confirmed whether it was staged. In 2016, a 23-year-old man visited Yellowstone National Park and approached a hot spring to test the water temperature. Many of Yellowstone's thermal pools reach near boiling temperatures and contain highly acidic water capable of breaking down organic tissue. He slipped and fell into the spring. Rescue teams initially saw his body floating, but a storm delayed recovery. When they returned the next day, there were no remains left. The heat and acidity had dissolved his body almost entirely. Yellowstone's geothermal features are unstable and chemically extreme. Falling into one is often instantly fatal due to thermal shock and full-thickness burns. Number 7. Class photo before Columbine. A 1999 Columbine High School class photo shows two students in the top corner making finger gun gestures toward the camera. Those students were Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Just months later, they carried out one of the deadliest school shootings in U.S. history. During the attack, students trapped inside classrooms played a game of hangman on a whiteboard to distract themselves from the sound of gunfire outside. Investigators later revealed that two 10-kilogram propane bombs had been placed in the school cafeteria and failed to detonate. If they had exploded during lunch, all 488 students inside could have been killed. On December 29, 1986, NBC San Diego aired a highway safety segment warning drivers to stay in their vehicles and never trust strangers.
Anything could happen. Being a female, you could be robbed if you're a male, all the way to where you could be killed. Once you get in that other person's car, you're at their mercy.
The segment featured California Highway Patrol Officer Craig Pyre. What viewers didn't know was that the broadcast aired just days after Kara Knott, a 20-year-old San Diego State University student, had been murdered. Investigators later uncovered that Pyre had used traffic stops to isolate women. Forensic evidence, witness accounts, and uniform fibers ultimately tied him to Kara Knott's death. He was convicted and sentenced to prison. In September 2025, employees at the Paddlefish restaurant in Disney Springs were counting cash after midnight when a man in full scuba gear entered the building. He forced two workers to the ground and stole more than $10,000. Instead of fleeing by car, he exited the same way he arrived, through the water. When police arrived, they found wet footprints, discarded dive equipment, and shaken employees. The suspect had disappeared beneath the surface and was not immediately identified. The robbery stood out not because of violence, but because of how carefully it was staged. Underwater entry, minimal trace evidence, and an escape route few businesses would think to secure. Undefeated boxer Billy Collins Jr. fought Lou Resto at Madison Square Garden on June 16, 1983. After 10 brutal rounds, Resto was declared the winner. Collins had absorbed over 400 punches, and his eyes were severely swollen. After the fight, cameras captured Collins's father examining Resto's gloves and realizing something was wrong. An investigation confirmed that padding had been removed. Even more disturbing, Resto's trainer, Panama Lewis, had hardened the hand wraps with plaster, forming a rock-like layer that made the punches far more damaging while protecting Resto's hands. Collins suffered a detached retina and permanent vision damage, ending his career at just 21. Struggling with depression after losing the sport he had dedicated his life to, he died less than a year later in a car crash near his home in Tennessee, which investigators later ruled intentional. Resto and Lewis were convicted and served 6 years in prison for the assault. Between August 27th and September 10th, 2015, drivers along Interstate 10 in Phoenix, Arizona began reporting shattered windows and sudden gunfire. Vehicles were struck while traveling at highway speeds. One young girl was seriously injured when a projectile tore through her family's windshield. Authorities believed they were dealing with an active highway shooter and launched a public tip line. A 21-year-old man was arrested and charged with multiple felony counts after investigators claimed ballistic evidence linked him to the shootings. However, records later showed his firearm had been in a pawn shop during at least one of the incidents, complicating the case and raising serious questions about the evidence. In February 2017, Brazilian Twitch streamer Cohen77 was live when two armed men entered his home and forced him off camera. Viewers initially assumed it was staged, but police later confirmed it was a real robbery. The intruders searched the house and stole property while the stream abruptly ended. Cohen later confirmed online that he and his family were unharmed. The incident became a cautionary example of the real-world risks of live broadcasting. A YouTuber known as Boog731 uploaded a video titled My Stalker in 2010. The footage shows him confronting a man in a parking lot who had allegedly been following him and attempting to force unwanted interaction. The man repeatedly tries to justify his behavior, while Boog731 explains that he feels uncomfortable and threatened.
With that in mind, why don't you give me a chance? I can.
Because I'm not giving you a chance because you're Filipino.
No. Why don't you give me a chance? Not being a...
You being a Filipino doesn't have anything to do with it. You being gay doesn't have anything to do with it. I don't care. I just don't like your presence. You make me uncomfortable. A Filipino friend doesn't make me uncomfortable. My gay friend doesn't make me uncomfortable.
Well, tell me, what makes them not make you uncomfortable?
The fact that we started having conversations and that we liked each other and that we were friends. We started having conversations, you and I didn't really get the vibe. I didn't really feel like we could be friends.
The confrontation ends without physical violence, but the recorded exchange went viral due to its disturbing tone. In August 2018, a 28-year-old airport ground service agent named Richard Russell boarded an empty Horizon Air Bombardier Q400 at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. He did not have a pilot's license. Using knowledge gathered from flight simulators and online videos, he started the engines and took off without authorization. For nearly an hour, he flew the aircraft over Puget Sound while speaking calmly with air traffic control.
Horizon Guy 449 Quebec X-ray. Hey, I found myself in a bit of a predicament. I'm in the air right now.
449, are you not supposed to be on that aircraft?
Yeah. So, what's a good frequency to talk to the people?
Did you just take off?
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to be on that aircraft?
No.
Yeah, I'm still here. What's going on? Are you flying the plane?
Yeah, hey, what's the range on this channel?
I'm not sure. What's going on?
Fighter jets were scrambled to intercept him. Eventually, he deliberately crashed the plane into a wooded area on Ketron Island. No passengers were aboard, and no one else was injured. The incident exposed significant airport security gaps regarding employee access to aircraft. On May 31, 2013, veteran storm chasers Tim Samaras, his son Paul Samaras, and colleague Carl Young were tracking a tornado near El Reno, Oklahoma.
This is going to be the storm of the day right here. This is going to do it, I think.
The storm unexpectedly expanded into the largest tornado ever recorded. Their vehicle was overtaken despite their experience. A camera recovered afterward captured calm conversation moments before impact, including Tim realizing they were in immediate danger. All three lost their lives. 11-year-old Mikkel Biggs was waiting for an ice cream truck in her Mesa, Arizona neighborhood in January 1999. Her younger sister ran inside their home for less than 2 minutes to grab money. When she came back out, Mikkel was gone. Her bicycle was lying in the street with the front wheel still spinning. 2 quarters she had been holding were found on the ground. Despite large-scale searches and decades of investigation, no confirmed trace of Mikkel has ever been found. Her disappearance remains one of Arizona's most haunting unsolved cases. In June 2025, A man posted on Reddit claiming he had been on the phone with his girlfriend in Torun, Poland, when she suddenly began screaming and the call disconnected. He asked anyone local to contact authorities. Hours later, news reports confirmed that 24-year-old Klaudia Karowska had been attacked in a park. She later died from her injuries. Users later realized the Reddit post had been written during the attack itself. In 2018, 16-year-old Carly Gousset returned home in California after smoking marijuana at a party. Her family described her as panicked, paranoid, and unable to sleep. Through the night, she reportedly expressed fear that something was wrong. Before sunrise, she left her house without her phone, shoes, or glasses. Neighbors later reported seeing her walking along a highway at dawn, staring straight ahead and appearing disoriented. Search teams combed the surrounding desert and mountains. Despite nationwide attention and years of investigation, Carly has never been found. In 2015, Martin Durham was found dead in his Michigan home, while his wife Glenna Durham survived a gunshot wound. The case stalled until Marty's African gray parrot, Bud, began repeating phrases that sounded like a heated argument. Although the parrot couldn't be used as legal testimony, investigators revisited the evidence. DNA later linked Glenna Durham to the weapon, and she was sentenced to life in prison for the murder of her husband. A 29-year-old woman in Florida managed to work inside a hospital for months while using someone else's nursing license number. During that time, she treated more than 4,000 patients. She took vitals, administered medications, and performed procedures without proper qualifications. Staff only discovered the deception when she applied for a promotion and her credentials were rechecked. She now faces multiple felony charges, and thousands of patients had to be notified that the person who treated them was not a licensed nurse. In September 2025, surveillance cameras inside a jewelry store at a mall in San Ramon, California, recorded around 25 masked suspects rushing in simultaneously. Display cases were smashed, and the group escaped with over $1 million in jewelry in under 2 minutes. Investigators described the robbery as highly coordinated, part of a wider pattern of organized retail crime across the state. In early 2026, 2 tourists driving through a rural area of Mexico captured a tense encounter on camera. As they traveled down a narrow road, several armed men wearing dark clothing stepped into their path, blocking the vehicle.
Please, what? Please, what? No, Espanol, please. We're just... Please, please. Por favor.
¿Dónde vas?
Please.
No problem, okay?
No, to pass out. Logan, don't. It's okay, it's okay.
No problem, okay?
The men carried rifles, and the tourists, filming from inside the car, whispered in panic, unsure whether they had just encountered cartel members. With no way to turn around, they slowed to a stop, watching every movement. After several nerve-wracking moments, the armed men gestured for the car to continue. The tourists carefully drove past and left the area shaken. Authorities did not officially confirm the identities of the men, but the video went viral, with many viewers believing the group was connected to organized crime. The footage remains a reminder of how quickly a routine trip can turn into a dangerous situation. A silent home video labeled "Jason Sleeping" shows nothing but a boy sleeping for nearly 30 minutes. No movement, no sound, no explanation. While some speculate darker intentions, archivists believe it was likely recorded by a parent monitoring sleep behavior. But why would anyone record their child sleeping for 30 minutes? The lack of context is what makes the footage unsettling. Not what happens, but what might have. An ancient Roman slave collar was discovered with its inscription still attached. The engraving reads, "I have fled. Seize me and return me to Xeninus for 1 gold coin." The collar functioned as both identification and a public notice. It offered a monetary reward to anyone who captured and returned the enslaved person. Unlike written records, this artifact is physical proof of how normalized and systematized slavery was in ancient Rome. where human beings were literally labeled as recoverable property. The Mexican television show Incognito filmed a late-night segment inside a cemetery in 2005. During the broadcast, the host challenged any spirits to appear. Moments later, the camera captured what appeared to be a pale girl standing near a gravestone. Her head slowly turned toward the host before the segment abruptly ended. The footage has never been officially explained, and viewers continue to debate whether it was staged. In February 2015, 2 truck drivers were forced to stop when a white pickup truck aggressively blocked their path on a highway. The driver circled them, stared, and rammed the back of their trailer when they tried to leave.
Does he think you cut him off or something? DC. What's his tag? I can't see his tag.
Police later located and arrested the man. Authorities determined he was not in a stable mental state at the time. The situation could have escalated into a fatal roadside confrontation. The entire encounter was captured on dashcam, showing how quickly an ordinary drive can turn into a threatening standoff. In May 1992, Mexican singer Chalino Sanchez performed at a concert in Culiacan, Sinaloa. During the show, someone handed him a note. Cameras captured his visible reaction as he read it. Chalino finished the performance, thanked the crowd, and left the stage. Hours later, he was abducted and killed. The note is widely believed to have warned him that the concert would be his last. During World War II, men imprisoned for being homosexual in Nazi concentration camps were forced to wear downward-facing pink triangles on their uniforms. The symbol identified them for abuse, isolation, and harsher treatment. After the camps were liberated, many of these men were not recognized as victims. Because homosexuality was still criminalized, some were sent back to prison to complete their sentences. The pink triangle has since been reclaimed as a symbol of remembrance and resistance, but its origin reflects a lesser-discussed layer of persecution during the Holocaust. In 2019, Valerie Kastner found an SD card on a sidewalk in Anchorage, Alaska with the words "Homicide at Midtown Marriott" written on it. Police discovered the card contained photos and videos documenting a real crime inside a hotel room. Investigators traced the footage to Brian Stephen Smith, a local hotel manager whose voice and movements matched the recordings. The victim was identified as Kathleen Jo Henry, a 30-year-old Alaska Native woman. Smith was arrested and later sentenced to 226 years in prison, ensuring he would never be released. In 1978, 15-year-old Mary Vincent was hitchhiking in California when she was picked up by 56-year-old Larry Singleton. He assaulted her and then severed both of her arms with a hatchet, leaving her in a ditch to die. Despite catastrophic injuries and massive blood loss, Vincent packed her arm stumps with mud to slow the bleeding and climbed out of the ravine. She walked nearly 3 miles to find help. She survived, and later testified in court against her attacker. Singleton was eventually released after serving only 8 years due to sentencing laws at the time. Vincent went on to become an artist and public speaker. In August 2009, VH1's reality show Megan Wants a Millionaire had aired only 3 episodes when it was abruptly pulled from television. A suitcase was discovered in a dumpster in Buena Park, California. Inside was the body of 28-year-old Jasmine Fiore. Her body had been mutilated, making identification difficult. Investigators ultimately confirmed her identity using the serial numbers on her breast implants. Attention quickly turned to Ryan Jenkins, a contestant on the show. Jenkins had met Fiore after filming ended, and the two married in Las Vegas just days later. Their relationship was reportedly unstable, marked by frequent arguments. Surveillance footage captured the couple together the night before Fiore was last seen alive. Shortly after, Jenkins fled to Canada. Days later, he was found dead in a hotel room before he could stand trial. VH1 immediately canceled the show. It never aired again. After being pulled from a ditch for erratic driving, 18-year-old Armando Vanega was taken to a hospital for treatment. While there, he managed to steal an ambulance and drive off. Dashcam footage shows him driving at high speed, at one point hanging partially out of the vehicle while steering with one hand. Police pursued him through multiple intersections before he struck a curb and the engine shut down. He was arrested without further incident and later charged with reckless driving while intoxicated, unauthorized use of a vehicle, and evading arrest. In 2025, a roadside CCTV camera recorded what looked like two child-sized shadows crossing an empty street late at night. No physical bodies were visible, only dark silhouettes moving in sync. Moments later, the street appeared completely empty again. Authorities found no missing children or pedestrians in the area. Deep inside a sulfur-filled cave near the Albania-Greece border, scientists discovered a massive spiderweb stretching roughly 106 meters across the cavern walls. Hundreds of thousands of spiders from two normally rival species had formed a cooperative colony. Instead of competing, they worked together to build and maintain a single enormous web structure. The behavior was highly unusual, because these species typically fight for territory. The discovery raised questions about how extreme environmental conditions may alter survival strategies. In October 2019, a Ring doorbell camera in Kent, Washington captured a couple arriving home late at night. Seconds later, an armed suspect ran toward them. The woman managed to get inside and lock the door just in time. The suspect then struck the camera with his weapon, breaking it. Police later arrested Al Hussein Drum, confirming the incident was part of a planned robbery because the couple just came back from the casino. On the morning of March 20th, 1995, commuters across Tokyo began reporting chaos inside the city's subway system. Passengers were seen stumbling out of train cars, collapsing on platforms, and struggling to breathe. News stations began broadcasting live coverage as emergency crews rushed into underground stations. It was later confirmed that members of the cult Aum Shinrikyo had released liquid sarin nerve gas on multiple subway lines during rush hour. The attack killed 13 people and injured thousands more, many of whom suffered long-term neurological damage. Television cameras captured the aftermath in real time. Victims lying on station floors, first responders carrying people to safety, and entire platforms being evacuated. It remains one of the deadliest domestic terror attacks in Japan's history. For years, Bruce MacArthur worked as a landscaper in Toronto and occasionally appeared as a mall Santa Claus. Between 2010 and 2018, 8 men from Toronto's gay community disappeared. MacArthur met several of his victims through dating apps. Investigators later discovered dismembered remains hidden in large planters at properties where he had done landscaping work. In 2019, he pleaded guilty to 8 counts of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life in prison. Many of his victims were marginalized men whose disappearances initially received limited attention. Number 20. The father who barricaded a hospital. In 2015, doctors declared a Texas boy brain dead and prepared to remove him from life support. His father refused to accept the diagnosis. Armed with a gun, he barricaded himself inside the hospital room and held off authorities during a tense standoff. During the confrontation, he claimed his son was still responsive. Eventually, medical staff observed signs of brain activity. The boy later made a recovery. The case sparked national debate about brain death diagnoses and parental rights in end-of-life decisions. A man reported that his bike had mysteriously vanished from the street. Assuming it was stolen, he checked nearby CCTV footage to identify the thief. What the camera showed left him stunned. The bike suddenly began to move on its own. No one was touching it. No person appeared in frame. It slowly turned, rolled forward, and disappeared down the street as if someone invisible was riding it. There were no signs of wires and no mechanical failure that could explain the movement. When the Twin Towers were burning on September 11th, most people were running from the scene. Bill Biggert was one of the only ones running towards it. He was a freelance photojournalist, wearing no protective gear, no crew with him, only his cameras. He moved through smoke and falling debris, documenting everything at street level. At 10:28 a.m., moments before the North Tower collapsed, he took one of his final photos. Rescue workers later recovered his body beneath the rubble, and his cameras beside him. The memory card survived and contained the last 150 images he ever captured, including frames taken seconds before the building came down. Ray J. Black began live streaming on Facebook on December 11, 2021. During the broadcast, he calmly confessed to shooting his ex-girlfriend, Tara Ling, inside a home in South Baltimore. He blamed years of custody disputes and accused his ex-wife of ruining his life.
You know, we got in a fight, and first thing she does, she's threatening that she's going to do the same thing. You're never going to see your kids, blah, blah, blah. It's the holidays, man. I don't have no family, nothing. Anyway, I just did something crazy, man. I just shot my ex-girlfriend in the head, yo. Felt like a dream. Like, I never thought I would be that guy. I can't go to prison, so the person that really started my depression and all of this is my ex-wife.
Near the end of the stream, he said, "She's next," referring to his ex-wife, Wendy Black. The live stream continued as he drove to Columbia, Maryland, where he shot and killed her as well. Police later confirmed both deaths. The video circulated widely before being removed. In 2014, a Russian fisherman was being mauled by a bear. The attack was already severe, and the man had little chance of overpowering the animal. Then his phone rang. The ringtone, set by his granddaughter, was Justin Bieber's "Baby." The sudden burst of unfamiliar sound startled the bear. It paused, then retreated into the woods. That interruption gave the man just enough time to escape and survive. Wildlife specialists note that unexpected noises can sometimes disrupt an attack, but surviving a bear encounter like that is extremely rare. In 2021, YouTuber Rich Aloha found a damaged GoPro while diving at Foster Falls State Park. The SD card contained footage recorded by 22-year-old Richard Ragland, who had drowned at the same location 2 years earlier. Out of respect, the full recording was never released, but it allowed Richard's family to recover their son's final memory. Near Calais, France, multiple truck drivers have captured something unsettling on dashcam footage. Late at night, men step into the road. Tree branches are dragged across lanes. Rocks are thrown at windshields. The goal isn't random chaos, it's to force trucks to stop. If a truck slows or pulls over, individuals attempt to climb aboard in hopes of crossing into the UK unnoticed. Drivers are trained not to stop under any circumstance. Some push through the barricades instead. The footage shows how quickly a routine overnight haul can turn into a high-risk confrontation on a dark highway. In 2003, a basketball coach in the Philippines recorded his team during a routine practice. Nothing unusual was noticed at the time. Later, while reviewing the footage, he spotted a dark child-sized figure running across the background of the court before disappearing out of frame. The coach said he never saw anyone there that day. Several players later claimed they felt a sudden cold breeze during practice, even though it was summertime. The footage was reportedly analyzed on a local news segment and showed no signs of tampering. Some viewers pointed out that the figure appeared not to cast a visible shadow. Skeptics argue it was likely another child briefly passing through the court and simply unnoticed. The identity of the figure was never confirmed. On July 11, 2018, a YouTuber known as King of Bongo decided to explore the illegal sections of the Paris catacombs. The legal portion already holds the remains of more than 6 million people. But beneath that lies a maze of off-limits tunnels stretching for miles, many unmapped, some partially collapsed. Using directions from local explorers and a rough map, he entered through a hidden access point near an abandoned train station. Shortly after separating from a group underground, he realized the directions he'd been given didn't match the tunnels in front of him. He had been inside for 2 hours already. Eventually, after backtracking multiple times, he recognized a piece of graffiti he had seen shortly after entering. That single marking guided him back toward the exit. He emerged after 3.5 hours underground, a trip that was supposed to last 30 minutes. After a deadly fire at the Quakers Hill nursing home in Western Sydney in 2011, a nurse named Roger Dean gave televised interviews describing the chaos and rescue efforts. 11 elderly residents lost their lives in the blaze. Investigators later discovered that Dean had stolen large amounts of prescription medication from the facility and deliberately started the fire to destroy records and delay detection. Security footage and forensic evidence contradicted his public statements. In 2013, Roger Dean was convicted of 11 counts of murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
It was like Satan saying to me that it's the right thing to do.
In late 2021, a man began uploading vlogs claiming that lion's mane mushroom supplements had severely damaged his health. He said he had taken OM mushrooms daily for about 2 weeks after reading positive reviews about its cognitive benefits. Soon after, he reported intense head pressure, internal vibrations, numbness in his limbs, insomnia, blurred vision, and a feeling of detachment. He compared the sensation in his head to having sheet metal superglued across his forehead.
They're just so tight all here. It's like super. So when you put like a piece of sheet metal or super glue all here, and doing this with my jaw, it's like a living hell.
Over months, he documented visits to multiple neurologists and specialists, undergoing MRIs, blood work, and sleep studies. According to him, no clear medical explanation was found, and some doctors suggested anxiety. He later created an online community where thousands claimed similar symptoms. In his videos, he expressed regret, saying he had planned to marry his girlfriend and start a family before his condition began. His channel became a public record of someone convinced a common supplement had permanently altered his life. In October 2022, Arkansas State Police attempted to stop a motorcyclist riding without a license plate. Instead of pulling over, the rider accelerated, weaving through traffic at high speed. During the pursuit, a trooper deployed a taser as the suspect attempted to flee on foot after crashing. What officers didn't know was that the rider was carrying a jug of gasoline in his backpack. When the taser made contact, sparks ignited the fuel. Within seconds, the suspect was engulfed in flames. Officers used fire extinguishers to put out the fire. He survived the burns, was later sentenced to probation, and died in an unrelated car crash a year later. While cycling through a remote forest area, a man and his wife stopped after hearing an unfamiliar sound coming from deeper among the trees. When he looked toward the source of the sound, he noticed a tall, dark figure moving between the trees at a distance. The man thought he might have seen a Bigfoot. The couple left the area shortly afterward. No further sightings were reported again after that. A group of explorers visited a remote cabin once owned by an elderly man who had passed away. From the outside, it looked abandoned, rusted vehicles in the yard, peeling paint, broken windows. But inside, the electricity was still on. Fresh suitcases sat in bedrooms. Personal items were neatly arranged. Someone was living there. Then a car pulled into the driveway. The explorers rushed out, filming as a man stood near the cabin watching them. They left immediately. No confrontation, no explanation. Just the realization that they had entered someone else's active hideout in the middle of nowhere. In 1999, a teenager named Casey Nicole became popular on the website collegeclub.com. She described herself as a basketball player from Kansas and regularly updated followers about her life. In 2000, she announced she had leukemia. For months, users followed her emotional battle with cancer. In May 2001, her mother posted that Casey had died from an aneurysm. Days later, internet users discovered Casey Nicole never existed. The photos had been stolen, and the entire persona was created by a woman named Debbie Swenson. Thousands had mourned someone who wasn't real. 3 young girls were found barefoot in their pajamas on a rural Georgia road on December 4, 1997. The oldest was 10-year-old Amber Daniels. When police went to their home, they found Amber's mother, stepfather, older sister, and younger brother shot and killed inside. One sibling had survived by hiding. Amber told investigators the man responsible was Jerry Scott Heidler, someone the family knew from past foster visits. Police believe he broke in during the night, used the family's own shotgun, killed multiple members of the household, then abducted the 3 girls. After hours in captivity, he abandoned them on a dirt road. Amber waited until he drove off, then told her sisters to run. At the station, she immediately identified Heidler from photos. He was later found hiding under his mother's house, confessed, and was convicted of multiple murders and kidnapping. Amber was 10 years old when she named the man who killed her family. CCTV footage shows a man walking through a quiet outdoor area at night, heading toward his parked car. As he moves across the frame, a pale, human-shaped figure suddenly appears beside him. The figure does not walk in a normal way. Instead, it drifts forward smoothly, as if gliding just above the ground. The man does not react and continues walking, seemingly unaware of anything beside him. Within seconds, the figure fades away mid-motion, disappearing completely without leaving a shadow or disturbance. No other people or vehicles are visible in the footage. The clip spread quickly online, with viewers debating whether the figure was a camera artifact, a lighting anomaly, or something unexplained. In 2016, a Saudi police officer filmed a woman dressed in white standing alone on a dark road at night. As he approached, she moved erratically in the headlights. The officer's voice can be heard trembling as he records. Online, many claimed it was evidence of witchcraft. Others suggested it was a staged video or someone in distress. No official explanation was ever confirmed. Two explorers entered a deep cave system to document rock formations. Early in the trip, their main flashlight batteries began failing, but they continued anyway. One light completely died, then another. Within minutes, they were standing in total darkness miles underground. No ambient light, no phone signal, a rushing underground river nearby. One wrong step could mean falling into fast-moving water. They placed their hands on each other's backs and moved slowly, feeling the walls to guide themselves. After what felt like an eternity, they finally found the exit. They weren't chased. Nothing supernatural happened. They were nearly defeated by darkness alone. In January 2005, Ricky Rodriguez, a former member of the cult Children of God, mailed videotapes to friends and family detailing his upbringing, trauma, and grievances against the organization.
There's this need that I have. This need, it's not a want, it's a need, and I wish it wasn't, but it is. It's a need for revenge. It's a need for justice. Because I can't go on like this.
After recording the tapes, Rodriguez killed a former cult member in Tucson, Arizona, before traveling to Blythe, California, where authorities later found him deceased. The tapes became key evidence in explaining the motive behind the crime and the long-term abuse Rodriguez had suffered inside the cult. The recordings are now considered one of the most disturbing examples of found video ever linked to a real criminal investigation. A YouTube video titled "Elves Spotted in Mexico" appeared online on December 12, 2010. In the footage, two people are playing soccer when a small figure darts across the background. The group screams and drops to the ground in fear. Many viewers claimed it resembled a duende, a goblin-like figure from Hispanic folklore. A similar video surfaced in 2007 showing another small humanoid shape walking behind children. Neither clip has been definitively explained. In June 1994, millions of viewers watched live as O.J. Simpson rode in the back of a white Ford Bronco, driven by Al Cowlings during a slow-speed police pursuit across Los Angeles. Every major network interrupted regular programming to follow the chase from helicopters overhead. The broadcast became one of the most watched live television events in U.S. history and marked a turning point in how real-time police incidents were covered on TV. Mandy, who lives in the Appalachian Mountains, has motion-activated security cameras placed around her home. One evening, she received a sound alert from her doorbell camera. When she reviewed the footage, she heard a clear whistle outside her front door, followed by a faint whisper saying, "Let me in." No one was visible in the frame. There were no animals, no shadows moving past the lens, and no signs that anyone had approached the house. A few hours later, the same whistle returned, this time followed by an even clearer whisper. Days after that, another recording captured low rumbling and faint speech-like sounds from inside the house itself, even though Mandy said she hadn't heard anything at the time. Some viewers suggested the system had been hacked, while others believed wind or wildlife could explain the noises. Mandy denied any breach of her cameras, and the footage never shows a figure. Only the sound remained. A homeowner shared footage from his indoor Ring camera showing pantry doors opening and closing during the night while he slept nearby. The movements appeared sudden and forceful, with no one visible in the room. While some viewers suggested drafts or mechanical issues, others pointed to the timing and repeated motion as unusual. No definitive explanation was ever confirmed. While hiking alone across the Appalachian Trail, a man heard multiple gunshots fired close to the trail in a remote section of forest. There were no visible hunters, no marked range. Just shots echoing through trees near the path he was about to take. Unarmed and unsure whether the shooter knew he was there, he began recording in case something happened.
There it goes again. It's gonna be 4. And so it's like a really weird place to shoot. I think the trail goes that way. So like, maybe it's just me being paranoid, but I have like a weird feeling. It's like, why the fuck are you shooting right off trail? And only 4 shots. Maybe he only has a 4-shot gun. You can hear him moving. So it's not. I'm just like sketched out, you know, like a little weirded out.
He described feeling watched as he heard movement in the woods after the shots. Nothing ultimately happened. But in a place with no immediate help and miles between people, even unexplained gunfire changes how safe you feel. In 2014, a Reddit user described growing up inside ATI, a homeschooling program linked to the Institute in Basic Life Principles, founded by Bill Gothard. The group promoted strict hierarchy, obedience, and isolation from outside influence. At 13 years old, the user was sent to the Eagle Springs Training Center in Oklahoma, part of what was called the Log Cabin program. Their mother reportedly signed over custody before leaving them at the locked compound. According to the account, students were subjected to forced labor, food restrictions, sleep deprivation, solitary confinement, and punishments designed to break their will. The user described being forced into silence for extended periods and made to perform physically exhausting tasks until near collapse. Years later, other former members shared similar testimonies, and public scrutiny increased after abuse allegations surfaced against the organization's founder. The Reddit post became one of the most widely shared first-hand accounts of life inside the program. In December 2022, a Georgia State Patrol trooper attempted to stop a motorcyclist for a suspended license and broken tail light. Instead of pulling over, the rider accelerated, weaving through traffic at high speed. Moments later, he slammed into the back of a car. Officers rushed to help, trying to keep him conscious. He did not survive. Authorities later revealed he had multiple outstanding warrants and had escaped prison months earlier. A minor traffic violation ended a 6-month manhunt in seconds. In February 2024, a TikTok video posted by Incognito Gaming TV appeared to show a large face-like shape hovering near the moon in the night sky.
It's a huge face looking right down on us. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit brighter. There he is.
The clip quickly gained millions of views, with viewers debating whether it was a visual anomaly or something artificial. Later recreations showed the effect could be produced using perspective, lighting, and foreground objects. But the original video remains one of the most widely discussed sky sightings online. 2 explorers discovered a narrow vertical shaft in the Appalachian Mountains and lowered a GoPro camera into it to see if it opened into a cave. The camera descended into darkness, then picked up something unexpected. Footstep-like sounds, movement. What sounded like breathing close to the microphone.
Dude, the mystery deepens. We hear water down there too. There's like a whole river down there or something. Sending it. Oh, it's going there.
The explorers were standing alone above ground. No one had entered the shaft after the camera. The footage suggested something was already down there. They later stated they planned to return with better equipment. By 1993, 19-year-old Monica Seles was the #1 ranked tennis player in the world and already a multiple Grand Slam champion. On April 30th, she was competing in a quarterfinal match at the Citizen Cup in Hamburg, Germany. During a changeover, as Seles sat on the bench between games, a man rushed from the crowd and stabbed her in the back. She screamed and collapsed as the stadium fell silent. The attacker was quickly restrained. Authorities later revealed he was an obsessed fan of rival player Steffi Graf and believed injuring Seles would help Graf reclaim the top ranking. He was ruled mentally unstable and received a suspended sentence. Seles survived, but was deeply traumatized. She stepped away from tennis for over 2 years, and although she returned in 1995, she never fully regained her previous dominance. A solo hiker was filming a quiet stretch of the Appalachian Mountains at night when something interrupted the silence. From somewhere deep in the trees, a voice began calling out. It sounded like someone begging for help, but the tone was distorted, stretched, and unnatural in a way that didn't feel quite human. The camera never captures a source. The forest beyond the trail is completely dark, and the sound seems to drift rather than come from a fixed direction. You can hear the hiker's breathing grow heavier as he realizes he isn't alone. He doesn't approach the sound, and he doesn't call back. The video ends without any explanation of what made the noise, leaving only the question of whether it was a person in distress, an animal mimicking human sound, or something else entirely. A man driving through a forested area in India recorded footage of a large animal carrying what appeared to be a striped animal carcass into dense vegetation. The animal had a dog-like head and dark body, leading viewers to debate whether it was a hyena or another rarely seen predator. Wildlife experts later noted that striped prey can appear in unexpected regions due to private reserves and animal relocation programs. Since 1930, a bridal shop in Chihuahua, Mexico, has displayed a mannequin known as La Pascualita. Local legend claims it is the preserved body of the shop owner's daughter, who allegedly died from a spider bite on her wedding day. Visitors often point to the mannequin's realistic hands and visible veins. The shop denies the rumor, but employees reportedly changed the dress behind closed curtains. The legend continues nearly a century later. A series of home security recordings show a man documenting unusual activity inside his house, including objects moving and furniture shifting when no one else is present.
Well, as you can see, it's morning, guys. This is just a quick update because I gotta get to work. But when I got up this morning to get my coffee, I walked into the kitchen and saw this. So I guess you guys were right that activity seems to be picking up because I have been, doing renovations. I replaced all this stuff, this dishwasher, the stove, the oven hood there. But this morning when I came into the kitchen, I noticed the cabinet was open, and then I noticed this chair. So I checked the Ring video, and it definitely...
At first, he believes the activity may be connected to his late wife. As the recordings continue and the behavior appears more aggressive, he begins to doubt that explanation. In later footage, he states that whatever is present does not behave in a way he recognizes, leading him to say, "That's not my wife." For decades, Jimmy Savile was one of the most recognizable television personalities in the United Kingdom. He hosted family-friendly BBC programs and was widely celebrated. Clips later resurfaced, showing Savile making inappropriate comments and touching young guests on live television. At the time, these moments were dismissed as eccentric behavior. After his death in 2011, investigations revealed hundreds of victims had accused him of abuse spanning decades. Much of it occurred while he was actively appearing on television. In 2015, a surveillance camera outside a clothing store recorded a mannequin standing motionless near the entrance. As a car approached the intersection, the mannequin's head suddenly turned toward the road before snapping back into place. Store staff found no mechanical explanation, and the mannequin had no moving parts. In the early 2000s, Mick Philpott appeared on daytime television presenting himself as a father in conflict with social services and former partners. On screen, he blamed authorities for interfering in his family life and portrayed himself as being treated unfairly. In May 2012, a fire broke out at his home in Derby, killing 6 of his children.
Yeah, terrace house. Yeah, we've got the police on the way. Have you any idea what's caused the fire? I've no idea, but it's not up my day long. There's smoke everywhere.
Philpott initially claimed the fire was accidental and continued to blame others. A police investigation later revealed the fire had been deliberately set as part of a plan to frame a former partner and influence custody and benefit disputes. He was convicted and sentenced to life imprisonment. In Tampa Bay, Florida, a family began smelling a strong chemical odor in their apartment. Over weeks, the father, his wife, and their 1-year-old daughter developed headaches, nausea, shortness of breath, and hair loss. Inspections failed to find the source. Suspicious, the father hid a camera in a plant facing their front door. The footage showed their downstairs neighbor, 36-year-old Juming Lee, kneeling by the door and injecting liquid through the crack with a syringe, more than once. Hazmat teams later confirmed the substance contained methadone and hydrocodone. Lee was arrested and charged with aggravated stalking and dispersing a chemical agent. The family left the apartment, shaken by what had been happening just outside their home. CCTV footage from a small restaurant showed an employee preparing a drink when a bottle was suddenly pulled out of her hand and thrown across the room. No one else was nearby. Management reviewed the footage multiple times and could not identify any mechanical cause. The incident contributed to long-standing reports of unexplained activity in the building. Millions of viewers watched the Space Shuttle Challenger launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida, on January 28, 1986. 73 seconds after liftoff, the shuttle broke apart mid-air.
Hear how quickly the shuttle moves. It's already more than 4 miles downwind, as we just heard.
Throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%. Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
The shuttle mission will launch. My God.
1 minute 15.
There's been an explosion.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9 nautical miles.
News anchors initially struggled to understand what had happened, continuing commentary as the debris fell. The incident, which claimed the lives of all 7 crew members, including teacher Krista McAuliffe, permanently changed how live broadcasts handle unfolding disasters. In June 2022, 3-year-old Riker Webb went missing near his home in Montana after wandering into the woods. The area was heavily forested and known to be home to grizzly bears, mountain lions, coyotes, and bobcats. Temperatures dropped near freezing overnight, and rain moved through the region. Search crews, volunteers, drones, and helicopters combed the area for nearly 2 days. Riker was eventually found over 2 miles away from his home, sheltering inside a shed on private property. Despite the harsh conditions, he was alive and suffered only minor dehydration and exposure. Months later, a resurfaced video showed Riker describing his time in the woods. He mentioned seeing a house in the woods where someone lived.
About what happened? Riker, do you remember when you got lost?
Mm-hmm.
What do you see?
I see a house.
A house? In the woods?
Yeah. So I can live and then I can live.
Someone lived in the house?
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened to you, bro. That was scary. You okay though now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
The shed where he was found belonged to a local resident, but the child's vague description led to speculation online. Authorities confirmed there was no evidence of abduction. Still, many questioned how a 3-year-old traveled that distance, avoided search teams, and survived 2 nights in dangerous terrain. A Ring doorbell camera captured footage of an unidentified man standing silently outside a woman's apartment late at night. He never rang the bell or attempted entry, usually remaining motionless before slowly walking away. The homeowner later reported the footage to police, but no matching individuals were found. In July 2024, a guest at a short-term rental in Madison, Wisconsin, noticed what looked like a tiny camera lens inside an electrical outlet in the bedroom. After checking the home, 2 hidden cameras were found, each superglued behind outlet plates in separate bathrooms and aimed directly at the toilet and shower areas. Police confirmed the devices contained SD cards and were connected to charging ports, raising concerns about how long they had been recording. Former guests, including Shanice Faust, who had stayed there for a bachelorette trip the year before, came forward after recognizing the property. She recalled her group frequently changing clothes and questioned whether they had been unknowingly filmed. Investigators are now reviewing the SD cards to determine what was captured and whether the footage was shared. In 2006, 2 men camping overnight with their families in a forested area of Catalonia reported an unexplained encounter after nightfall. While walking through the woods, they noticed movement above them in the trees. When they aimed their flashlights upward, they saw a figure positioned on a tree branch. As the light reached it, the figure turned its head toward them. According to the men, its eyes reflected the light with an intense glow, and its head appeared unusually human in shape. After several seconds, both men fled the area, leaving the campsite behind. A mother filming at a cemetery captured her young son suddenly pointing toward a nearby tree. The boy calmly insisted he could see a man hanging in the branches. When asked for details, he described the figure as an old man and said he was moving.
It's so fast.
It's spinning fast, eh? Beautiful, Mom.
Mom?
What, Mama?
I saw someone in the tree.
Hmm?
The white thing in the tree.
The white thing in the tree?
Yes, that one.
There's a white thing in the tree?
Yeah.
Where?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it's an old man.
There's an old man in the tree?
Yes.
Down over there?
Yes, he's just walking.
Where is he walking?
I don't know.
Is he over there walking, Mum?
No.
But there's a man in the tree.
Yes?
Oh.
I should have seen one.
You saw him in the tree?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
It's not cool, Mom.
Oh, it's not cool?
Yeah.
What did he look like?
I don't know. It's not strange.
He looked strange?
Mm-hmm.
The mother repeatedly looked toward the tree, but saw nothing. No figure is visible in the footage either. The video spread online, with viewers split between imagination and something unexplained. A Bureau of Land Management safety video from the late 1990s includes real footage of a group of young men entering an abandoned mine in Nevada despite posted warning signs. The camera records unstable tunnels, collapsed beams, deep vertical shafts, and loose debris as the group continues deeper, repeatedly acknowledging the danger but pressing on. At one point, man attempts to descend using a rope attached to an old wooden support. The rope fails, sending him more than 60 feet down a vertical shaft. The footage captures the immediate panic as his friends search for help. He was eventually rescued after a lengthy operation and survived, and the video was later used to demonstrate how abandoned mines can become deadly within seconds. In April 2003, 27-year-old Aaron Ralston went on a solo hike in Utah's Blue John Canyon. While descending a narrow slot canyon, a massive boulder shifted and pinned his right arm against the rock wall. Alone and with no one aware of his location, Ralston spent 5 days trying to free himself. He rationed his limited food and water, attempted to chip away at the boulder with a multi-tool, and recorded farewell messages on his camera as dehydration and exhaustion set in.
My name's Aaron Ralston. My parents are Donna and Larry Ralston of Englewood, Colorado. Whoever finds this, please make an attempt to get it to them. Be sure of it. I would appreciate it.
With no other option, he amputated his own arm using the dull multi-tool. He then rappelled down the canyon and hiked several miles before encountering a family who alerted authorities. Ralston survived. His story later inspired the film 127 Hours and became one of the most well-known survival cases in modern history. A homeowner checking his Ring security camera footage noticed something unsettling. The image appeared to show 2 identical versions of himself standing in the same frame at the same time. The footage was captured in the evening outside his home and showed no signs of editing. While camera glitches and reflection artifacts are the most likely explanation, the clip gained attention because the duplicate figure appeared positioned naturally, not distorted or mirrored. A TikTok user known as Meta Cowboy recorded a woman in a parking lot who repeatedly exited her car, walked around it in the exact same pattern, got back in, drove away, and returned minutes later.
She does it every 10 minutes. I'm just sitting in the parking lot. Now she's going to look to the right, and then she's going to go.
Only to repeat the process again. The behavior continued for hours and was captured from multiple angles. While some viewers suggested a glitch explanation, others pointed out the actions were consistent with compulsive behavioral disorders rather than anything supernatural. In the mid-1990s, Joe Roy Matheny was a homeless man living in Baltimore, Maryland. Struggling with drug addiction and anger toward women, he targeted vulnerable sex workers near highways and abandoned buildings. Matheny lured victims with promises of drugs or shelter before killing them and disposing of their bodies in remote areas. After his arrest, he confessed to dismembering victims and storing remains in a freezer inside an abandoned warehouse. He later claimed he mixed human flesh with pork and beef and sold it as barbecue sandwiches from a roadside stand. Investigators could not fully verify that claim, but it became the most infamous detail of the case. In 1996, a woman escaped and alerted police, leading to Matheny's arrest. He was convicted of 2 murders and sentenced to life in prison. He died behind bars in 2017. In Hudson, Wisconsin, a woman noticed footprints in the snow leading directly up to her bedroom window. She installed a security camera, which later captured a man returning and looking inside. Police traced the vehicle seen leaving the scene to Robert Cessna, a senior corporate executive. After an investigation, he was charged with felony stalking and later dismissed from his position. In September 2019, 40-year-old Stephen Weber Jr. and his girlfriend Kenesha Antoine were staying at the Manta Resort in Tanzania, known for its underwater hotel rooms surrounded by ocean life. On their 3rd day, Weber swam down outside the glass bedroom window wearing snorkeling gear. Holding a waterproof note, he proposed, writing that he couldn't hold his breath long enough to describe everything he loved about her, before asking her to marry him and revealing a ring. Antoine filmed the moment from inside the room. After the proposal, Weber never resurfaced. Staff and bystanders attempted to rescue him, but he could not be revived. Authorities later confirmed his death as a drowning. Antoine later shared that he never heard her answer. Yes, 1,000,000 times yes. Security camera recorded a woman walking with her child while a cat followed closely behind. Suddenly, the cat was knocked sideways as if pushed by an unseen force, flipping in midair before landing safely. The woman turned around just moments too late to see what happened. Some viewers blamed passing vehicles or sudden noises, while others pointed out the motion didn't line up with anything visible on camera. Security footage from a nursing home showed cleaning staff reacting in panic as footprints began appearing on the carpeted floor without anyone visible. The marks matched the color and texture of spilled cat litter from earlier that day. No person was present in the hallway when the footprints formed, and the incident followed reports of unexplained noises moments earlier.
Oh, that's disgusting. Or the vegan cheese.
Or the vegan cheese. That would be...
Y'all see it? I'm not the only one that heard that.
Well, there was this one time when I was in this hallway and oh, get the
No official explanation was ever given. On September 15, 2009, 12-year-old Kyle Wheeler boarded the Accelerator roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm in California with his father seated beside him. The ride launched from 0 to 82 miles per hour in just over 2 seconds. Seconds after launch, the thick steel cable that powered the ride snapped. The cable whipped back into the station, shattering fiberglass and striking Kyle in the leg. Metal fragments flew across the platform as the train rolled back into the station. Kyle suffered deep lacerations and required multiple surgeries. Investigators later found severe cable fatigue and missed inspection intervals. The family reached a settlement, and the ride eventually reopened with a redesigned launch system. Videos from Ukraine, New York, and Singapore showed massive black smoke rings hovering in the sky for several minutes before slowly dissipating. In one case, the ring appeared so symmetrical that viewers suggested advanced technology or unknown aircraft. Experts later explained that the phenomenon was caused by controlled explosions and pressure releases forming vortex rings, which can linger under the right atmospheric conditions. In September 2003, guests at a hotel in Illinois repeatedly complained about blood-curdling screams coming from room 209, a room that was supposedly empty. Security footage shows a hotel employee approaching the door while staff monitor cameras. A pale drifting shape appears briefly in the hallway before vanishing. Inside, furniture was overturned, the carpet ripped up, and the shower running. But no one was there. The video remains unexplained. During a Thanksgiving gathering, a grandfather showed his family footage from a living room security camera recorded months earlier. In one frame, he appears standing alone in the room. In the background, a faint human-shaped figure is visible beside him. A second frame zooms in on the same area, where the shape appears more defined, resembling a young girl with long hair. In another image from the same footage, a dark figure can be seen partially peering from a doorway. The grandfather maintains that no one else was present when the footage was recorded. After the images were shared online, viewers debated whether the figures were intruders, camera artifacts, or something just simply eerie. Around 3 a.m., a security guard in Mexico City heard loud door slams coming from a passenger plane that was supposed to be empty. He boarded with a flashlight and began recording. At the end of the aisle, a shadowy figure briefly appears behind the seats before disappearing. The guard fled immediately. No official explanation was ever given. Footage recorded on July 8, 2000, shows a wide, open meadow in daylight, with no people visible in the area. As the camera continues recording, a dark figure emerges from the edge of the grass and moves steadily across the field. The figure appears roughly human in shape, covered in dense black fur, and walks upright as it crosses the open space. At first, some viewers suggested it could be a known animal, such as a Florida skunk ape. However, the way the figure moves does not clearly match typical animal behavior seen in similar environments. The creature does not react to the camera and continues across the meadow until it disappears into the tree line. On August 14th, 2021, a 32-year-old man rode Lagoon Amusement Park's Sky Ride in Utah, a slow cable lift that carries passengers 50 feet above the ground. Midway across the park, witnesses saw him hanging from the chair with one hand gripping the safety bar. Phones began recording as people shouted for him to hold on. Moments later, he fell roughly 50 feet onto the concrete below. He was airlifted to a hospital but later died from his injuries. Authorities found no mechanical malfunction, and the ride had passed inspection that same day. In August 2020, residents of Beirut, Lebanon recorded dozens of videos showing smoke rising from the city's port before a massive explosion tore through the area. Many of the clips began minutes earlier, capturing small fires, warning sounds, and people evacuating nearby buildings. Because official monitoring systems failed or were damaged, investigators later relied heavily on these civilian recordings. By syncing footage from phones, security cameras, and dash cams, analysts were able to reconstruct the timeline of the disaster, estimate the blast's strength, and confirm how long the fire burned before the explosion occurred. In July 2024, an EMT shared footage from inside an ambulance while returning to base late at night. According to him, everything felt normal until he glanced at the rearview mirror and saw what he described as a human-like face staring back from the patient compartment.
I don't know if you see it, but can y'all see that back door? Like it just flew open. Like, can y'all?
Knowing it was supposed to be empty, he was visibly shaken and began recording while contacting dispatch. As the EMT wanted to shut off the engine, a loud bang echoed from the back. He jumped back out of the car and ran to the back. Moments later, the rear door appeared to swing open on its own. In the footage, a dark shadow-like figure can briefly be seen moving inside before disappearing again. In the late 1970s, Rodney Alcala appeared on a popular television dating show, presenting himself as charming and intelligent. During the episode, he won the contest and was selected for a date by the female contestant. At the time of the broadcast, Alcala was already wanted by authorities and linked to multiple violent crimes. The contestant later declined the date after finding his behavior unsettling, unknowingly avoiding further contact. Alcala was arrested years later and convicted of multiple murders, with investigators suspecting many more victims. The episode became infamous because it captured a wanted serial offender appearing relaxed and confident on national television, highlighting how easily dangerous individuals can blend into ordinary public settings. A TikTok streamer went live on Omegle, chatting with two boys who said they were home alone. During the conversation, the streamer noticed something behind them, a bedroom door slowly opening on its own. When he asked about it, the boys insisted no one else was in the house. One of them checked and found nothing.
Sí. Pero, podrás dar la IP. ¿Tienes nuestra IP? ¿Eres de esos que buscan la IP y esas cosas? ¿Qué hace? ¿Tienes nuestra IP? ¿Eres de esos que buscan la IP y esas cosas? ¿Qué hace? Y mi gato está abajo, es imposible que se mueva nada. Nos estaba tirando esto. Literalmente es típico. Se ha quedado pillado. ¿Qué le pasa?
Atrás suyo hay alguien.
¿Cómo que atrás? ¡Me cago en la puta!
Moments later, the door moved again. Then the streamer saw what he described as a dark humanoid figure standing behind them. He warned the boys. They turned around and froze. Seconds later, the live stream abruptly cut off. On the morning of May 5, 2017, a 33-year-old woman was walking across Putney Bridge in London during rush hour when a jogger suddenly ran past her and pushed her into the road. She fell directly in front of an approaching city bus. The bus, traveling at low speed, managed to swerve at the last moment, missing her by only a few inches. The woman survived without serious injury. Approximately 15 minutes later, the same jogger returned to the bridge and ran past her again. When she tried to speak to him, he ignored her and continued running. The incident was captured by the bus's dash camera, triggering a police investigation. Authorities reviewed dozens of potential suspects and arrested several men, but no charges were filed. After more than a year with no new leads, the case was officially closed. The identity of the jogger was never determined. Security footage from an old warehouse reportedly built in the 1960s shows a dim corner of a room. Around the 22-second mark, a shadow-like figure appears to move across the wall, then seems to turn back and shut a door. The uploader claimed there was nothing in that area capable of casting a shadow. They even attempted to recreate the movement by opening doors and letting wind flow through, with no success. The subtle movement is easy to miss, but once seen, it's difficult to unsee. Residents of Chino Hills, California, discovered a surveillance camera disguised as a rock, placed in the center median of their street. The device was aimed directly at a nearby home and powered by a portable battery. Footage showed a person wearing gloves and a helmet planting the camera before leaving on a scooter. Police were unable to identify the suspect, and the motive behind the surveillance remains unknown. Late one night, a home security camera recorded a man standing silently outside a metal gate. Seconds later, he moved forward and appeared to pass straight through the bars without opening them. No pause, no visible struggle. Neighbors insisted the gate had been locked, and the footage showed no shadow or reflection that could explain the movement. Police were unable to determine how the entry occurred. On October 5, 2003, professional base jumper Dwayne Weston performed a proximity flight near the Royal Gorge Bridge in Colorado. During the high-speed pass, he misjudged the distance between himself and the bridge. Combined with unstable wind conditions, the error proved fatal. He struck the bridge structure and fell roughly 90 meters into the canyon below. Weston was 30 years old. The footage remains one of the most well-known and sobering wingsuit accidents ever recorded. Security footage from a roadside camera showed a parked truck beginning to move forward on an uphill road. The engine was off, and no driver was visible inside the cab. Because gravity couldn't explain the direction of movement, investigators inspected the vehicle for mechanical faults, but found none that clearly explained what happened. In 2021, a Twitch streamer from Argentina was live on Omegle when viewers noticed something she didn't: a dark figure reflected in the mirror behind her bed. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual, but when zoomed in, a shadowy shape appeared standing upright on the bed in the reflection, moving slowly. On the actual bed, a black bag or piece of clothing lay flat, clearly not matching the upright shape seen in the mirror. The streamer only realized what appeared behind her after re-watching the footage. She later said she had no idea what it could have been, from unexplained shadows to crimes broadcast live. On November 24, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin of President John F. Kennedy, was being transferred through the basement of the Dallas Police Headquarters. As television cameras broadcast the transfer live, nightclub owner Jack Ruby stepped forward and shot Oswald at point-blank range. Millions of viewers witnessed the moment in real time. Oswald died shortly afterward at Parkland Memorial Hospital, the same hospital where President Kennedy had been pronounced dead 2 days earlier. A hotel guest recorded a video after hearing tapping sounds behind the bathroom mirror. To test it, he slid a piece of paper behind the glass. Within seconds, the paper was pulled out of sight. The guest left immediately and reported the incident to hotel staff. No structural explanation was provided for how anything could access the space behind the mirror. These were some of the most unsettling moments ever caught on camera, but there's even more footage that never made it into this video. Watch one of our next videos here.